The invisible city. In a valley hidden far from the eyes of the world, beyond towering mountains and dense forests, there lay a city that was not visible to the ordinary human eye. This was the invisible city of Evania, a place built on wisdom, kindness, and the deepest respect for nature. Only those with a pure heart, a clear mind, and a thirst for goodness could find this hidden city, and even fewer could see it fully. The city's founders, who had once lived in noisy, chaotic places driven by greed, had left their old lives behind, deciding to establish a sanctuary that embraced harmony, integrity, and peace. Evania had no towering walls, grand gates, or shining towers. Rather, its magic lay in the simplicity and sincerity of its people, who valued hard work, compassion, and mutual respect. And this, ironically, made Evania invisible to those whose hearts were clouded by selfishness, for they simply couldn't understand the life lived there. One day, a young traveler named Elara wandered into the mountains, feeling exhausted by her life in the big city. She had grown weary of the competition, noise, and insincerity surrounding her, but she had never expected to find a place like Evania. After days of wandering, as she grew tired and lost, she stumbled into a part of the valley that seemed to glow with an unearthly light. To her astonishment, buildings that seemed part of the forest appeared before her. Walls were covered in vines, homes were made from tree trunks, and streams flowed freely as paths. She saw people working together, laughing as they shared food and tended to their gardens. Elara quickly noticed that, unlike in her own city, there was no sign of wealth, luxury, or competition. The people of Ivania lived simply, dressed in natural clothing, and shared everything they owned, valuing love, honesty, and respect above material things. Inspired by their way of life, Elara asked them to show her how she too could learn to be content without the trappings of the modern world. Elara soon realized that the city's invisibility was more than just a trick of the eye. It was a way of protecting its people's values and lifestyle. She saw that Ivania's people held a moral code that preserved the city's purity and beauty. Each person lived by a rule of caring for the earth, using only what they needed, and sharing openly with their neighbors. They believed in the idea of enough, where resources and time were carefully balanced so that no one took more than they required, and no one was left in need. When conflicts arose, the people of Evania met in circles to speak openly, allowing all voices to be heard and resolving disputes with fairness and kindness. Elara learned that, for Evania's citizens, life was about much more than acquiring possessions or fame. Instead, they saw life as a journey of growth, understanding, and connection with the world around them. Living in Evania taught her that true happiness and peace could only be found by respecting others, nature, and oneself. After spending many years in Evania, Elara grew wise and content, understanding the ways of the people there. However, the elders of the city reminded her that she must eventually return to her own world, sharing the wisdom she had gained. So, Elara returned to her city, but her life was forever changed. She no longer felt the need for expensive clothes, fancy gadgets, or constant approval from others. Instead, she started a small garden, shared her resources with her neighbors, and began teaching others the values of patience, kindness, and simplicity. At first, some people mocked her, thinking she was strange or naive. Yet over time, those around her began to see the peacefulness in her heart and the joy in her life. Slowly, her community started to adopt small changes, planting trees, sharing food, and spending more time together without distractions. Alara's journey to the invisible city had left her with a lasting moral that she shared with all. When we live with kindness, humility, and respect, we bring light into our own world no matter where we are. And in time, her own city, in its own way, began to resemble Evania.